You're Suyo versus Joy Enjoyer for the last 6 months. You're not used to this matchup. What do you guys think?
I have to say I'm hoping that there will be something else again coming into day number 3, because we've seen a couple of new picks pop up from day 1, from day 2. It's been a consistent trend
for
the first.
Actually.
Yeah, ever since the patch took place. So I would love to see more, especially for this particular match with this rivalry that we're about to see.
Speaking of a lot, love, and more, we have a lot more in store for you guys. New battle modes are now available until August 5 for only 109 diamonds only.
You can get new emotes from Aurora, Team Liquid.
Go for it.
And if you haven't gotten them yet, Onyx Omega and TNC's battle emotes also return.
You can show your support for your favorite MPL team and buy them now in the in-game shop. I'm going to predict right now real quick.
Okay, go, sir.
Real quickly, I'm going to say, wait, hold on. This is Rora. I'm going with Rora.
Rora, 2-0, 2-1.
2-1, 2-1.
Okay, I'm going to go for the same. This is, hold on. It's Rora, 2-1.
Rora, 2-1. Okay, I have to go with the Phoenix Army because I'm feeling hot and it's really hot inside. So, TNC in 5. Shout out,
that's not your line.
I know,
Oh.
but I miss Renmar. That's a callback.
We weren't even able to say don't miss out on this amazing deal.
Don't miss out on this amazing deal.
And I'm pretty sure Renmar isn't missing out of all the action that's in store for us right now. Again, the first matchup, a rematch of the showdown between top roamers. It's TNC versus Aurora. Will Aurora be able to up their chances of securing an upper bracket slot? And will TNC finally reignite their momentum? Later on, we're just going to throw it over, of course, to our lovely marshals. And in fact, the person you'll be hearing later on is someone who's a little bit multi-talented. Let's throw it over to Hans Galleria.
To oversee and uphold the tournament's integrity, guiding us through this match. Ultimate Showdown Part 2 with TNC Pro Team versus Aurora. At the XP lane, you have 3 Martisi and Edward. At the jungle, you have Coil and Demon Kite. At mid, it's Lancy and UM. At Rome, it's Yowie and Renegade! And at gold, it's Benny Cutie and Dominkite. And your coaches, Coach Master the Basics and Coach Imba DJ. Classic matchup is now underway for this first match of the day. Renegade, Yowie, step forward. Yowie, nung napanood mo siguro yung nakaraang interview, sabi ni Rene J, paano ba yan, we? Hindi ka nakaisa. Ano ang gagawin mo para maitabla ang serye? Ano ang palag mo?
Wala ko nasa poder ko ngayon si Boss D. Sa kanya wala.
Rene J, maganda ang banat ni Yowie. Paano mo masiselyuhan na hindi sila makakabawi for this season? Ano ang palag mo?
Nasa poder ka lang niya, pero nasa akin yung puso niya.
Fist bump, gentlemen. Aurora, TNC, do your fist bumps as well. MPL Arena, I wanna hear you scream! For this matchup for today, it's the Auroras versus the Phoenix Army. Casters, balik sa inyo.
And there you have it, another heated match. Of course, we have the Rising Phoenix. Who's going to be fielded in for TNC Pro Team? Let's see.
All right, it's going to be 3 Martisi and the Coil variation once again. Previously, we saw Zaida and Lord JM, but this time around, they're showing us something else. And previously, it has been a really great performance when TNC Pro Team decided to field out Coil and 3 Martisi. And then on top of that, I'd say, I feel like they're in a really good shape, because if people back then were saying that they were probably a little bit shaky in terms of especially the initiations that come come in every now and then from Yaoi, it has took a different turn, especially for the previous matches. Extending the series, even up against the top 4, they're slowly getting there. So this might just be the moment they seal in that win against one of the top 4.
And will the shakeup be enough to fight and take down one of the most consistent teams of the season, Aurora Gaming?
Yep, we got Edward, Demon Kite, Yue, Renajay, and Domin Kite, and we have talked about all of these players extensively throughout the regular season, especially, you know, the Kite brothers, what Renajay has been able to do, of course, how consistent Yue has been, and Edward, nonetheless, Mr. Consistent himself. Now, the thing about them is they have just been able to really play every single role to the T. They've been able to go ahead and lock in some amazing plays individually, but especially as a team. You can see the difference here, too. Hero pool that sticks out, right? There's a couple more picks that TNC has been able to bring, and I think that might be an advantage that we get to see with this iteration again with Coil and 3mar in, because of the new patch. Like that's been the trend this weekend alone, is how many debut picks have come out. So I'm wondering if TNC will bring in, you know, of course, Coil and 3mar, and let that also be part of these debut picks that come out again against a team like Aurora, who has been on fire lately and has been very strong. And one of the best ways to be able to go ahead and tackle that as the opponents here, TNC could just go ahead and say, well, let's make this draft interesting and bring something new out to the table.
Because I mean, for Aurora, especially in the previous matches where they played, it could have been, or it was a little bit surprising for me personally to see that they still tend to go for, let's say, the Suyos and all that. They aren't necessarily switching things up in such a way that they're introducing new picks here and there. Well, I'd say except for the Esmeralda, maybe.
Yeah.
So if we are kind of considering that they might not, I'm more leaning onto the idea that they will show us something.
Yeah, we need to show this to you guys, because I'm pretty sure every single one of you is excited to see our smart pink test for this matchup.
Dale mo, galaw na gusto ko. Mua. Goal, get the coil, ha? Nagkaw nga nalab. Uy, wag naman gulo,
Ay, di ba pala nakapag-isip ng ng face-up namin ni Coil TZ? Ang face-up namin ni Coil TZ. Gusto ko yung medyo mainit para kapag pag may ginawang kababalagan sa akin, mag-iinit tayo man. Di ma-identify yung mukha mo kaya gumana.
Tama ka, mali ako.
Do what works for you. Takot. Oy, outplay. Shish, baka jumble billiard yan. Tuturuan kita mag-ML Uy, Gurasit! Baliw, isang lang, straight. Grabe settings ni Yume man. Wait lang, Ulo kasi settings mo Pinalitan ko na. Maano nga ni.
That's our smart ping test, bringing you a low latency gaming with Smart's Sulit promos.
Subscribe to Only 5G with non-stop data for non-stop gaming on your favorite loading platforms or at the Smart booth right outside our MPL venue.
Yeah.
Say the line.
Don't miss out on this amazing deal.
Wow, all right, we're complete. We're okay for the day, you know? I'm so okay for this day. And imagine, we are about to discuss our Infinix keys to victory.
Oh, yeah, that's me. Infinix keys to victory. Oh, man. Okay, for TNC, find different ways. Yeah, you know, sometimes you just have to switch things up. And when you do things for many weeks in and out, sometimes it's good to go ahead and go with a different approach. And I think that's Coil and the hit list. Now, this one, who else is on his hit list? Who else is on Renajay's hit list?
They were able to beat everyone in the span of 4 weeks. I mean, they went on an 8-0 win streak.
Yeah, you know, so
I think the hit list is just literally 3mar and Coil.
I'd love to take a look at the hit list from Renajay right there. And then lastly, for both teams, be consistent and more. Remember when we came into this season, there was a lot of words going around that Aurora wasn't that consistent. They're the most consistent, inconsistent team. Yeah. Well, now that's been in shambles. They're consistent as hell. Now for TNC, they have to be the ones working on that consistency. You know, they won quite a few games. They got themselves locked in for the playoffs. That's all great. But go through the reps again here with 3mar and Coil. Be as consistent as they have been. And who knows, maybe this version of TNC will defeat Aurora. That'd be huge.
And maybe that is the game plan. Like shaking things up in such a way that teams themselves, Aurora themselves, might not be completely aware that this is going to be the iteration of TNC which they're going up against. Because I feel like it was the exact same scenario the last time this happened. And they got a win during that matchup. So if they are actually able to practice these two lineups for like different situations or whatnot, then we're about to see now, which I feel like is the best timing too, since there has been a recent patch. So if there's any time you can actually surprise your opponents with your lineup and with whatever strategies you have, this could be it, actually.
At this point, I'm expecting a lot of crazy picks, especially from our two roamers. And as we head on to the first drafting phase of game number 1, maybe the style of a new iteration of a lineup for TNC. They're taking a page out of Team Falcon's book when they last fought, because they sub the same up against Aurora, and they have selected red side this time.
Okay, and also the Joy Band's out here, so there could be some room for experimentation, maybe for Aurora, at least on some of the first picks too. The fact that the Joy is taken out, who has been the hero that's mostly prioritized. I know we've seen a couple different debut picks in the jungle now too, but the fact that, yeah, you took out the Lucas, you don't have the Joy. This last ban might be a Kalea. If they don't ban out the Kalea, that could be for the taking for Aurora in the first pick. But either way, there's so much open here.
I agree. Actually, this might be one of the first few games where the Mathilda isn't actually banned out in the first phase for both of these sides. So they open both the Mathilda and the Kalea. So Aurora might actually go for the Kalea, I believe, because it wouldn't be ideal to, I guess, pick up the Harith in this scenario, since there's still a Phoveus out there. Unless you really want to ensure your laning matchup. But then there's the Moskov too, that TNC can still pick up if they wanted to in the latter portions of the draft.
Yeah, especially since Aurora has been also selecting Jushin, but now they banned TNC banned it with the chip of Renegade. And now let's see what's going to happen. I'm pretty sure it's not going to be an XP lane, because we all know Edward has been flexing a lot of heroes. But there you have it, Brigida. The Kalea first pick for Aurora.
That makes sense, though. You know, go ahead and pick it up. It could still technically, like, we have seen some teams like play with a flex Kalea, but yeah, we're just going to assume this is going to the hands of Renegade. The answer is going to be a Fredrin and a Sicilian. This is so interesting that the Sicilian comes up this early on. And maybe that part of that was just to go ahead and steal it away from Yue. Yue is probably the player that's played the Sicilian the most the regular season, and he usually is just pretty much of a menace. So this is interesting that we see this, like Fredrin Sicilian being picked up in the first phase on the red side. When was the last time we saw this, you know?
I'm not sure. It's been a long time, but even if Sicilian was recently nerfed, again, you have to put the respect when it's on the hands of Yue. And right now, Fredrin for Coil, so he will be using another hero this time, not the Joy's Fannies or the hair.
There you
guys predicted it again. The Mathilda Moscow back in action for the Northern Lights.
And they can decide to ban out the Phoveus later on, unless... Okay, TNC will... Okay! So it's not just the Fredrin in the first phase that'll surprise us in the draft. It's the Franco immediately showing up, because this usually is something you see for the last two picks, if not the last pick even of the team.
Can I just say, the last time Yaoi used Franco against Renegade was the lower bracket finals of Season 12 between Blacklist and then Echo, wherein Renegade and his squad was able to take down Yaoi. Wow.
That is a great fact.
I remember it because I was the one who was casting it. that was actually the last time these two met prior to their previous matchup during week number 3.
Yeah. So is that the way they want to close out their second meeting in this season? Interesting bans. Even a backshot being taken out here for Aurora.
I'm surprised they took that out, but also it could just be, you know, covering the bases, because we have seen Baksha pop up once or twice so far for the regular season, but also when you have a Matilda with you, you don't want that much mobility. Like, you got to think about how much mobility that gives Aurora if they did have Demon Kite on Baksha. So they already have a ton of utility to play around with. They can move around the map really well. So now if you're TNC, you want to be able to go ahead and say, like, all right, how do we play against this amount of speed, amount of mobility, amount of even split push that can happen across the map? Because again, when you pick up a Franco, you want to kind of play around the hooks, right? You're trying to play around the fact that you want to get the hook, you want to get an immediate numbers advantage in these team fights. You're also playing around the fact that you have a Fredrin now in the jungle, so you want to extend some of those objective takes and work from there. But also you have to remember too that this is a long game for TNC already because of the fact that they picked up a Sicilian, and it also depends on what they decide to put in the gold lane. So that's what we're seeing banned out here now from Rora on the last ban. Is it going to be another gold lane option?
Yeah, possibly. I mean, that's right. TNC doesn't have anything else to worry about. Honestly, if they get to shut down the entire idea of an early game from Aurora, since the mere fact that they have a Franco kind of like denies Aurora being very, I'd say, committed to taking an assassin jungler. There's the Hayabusa that's still up for grabs. But then you'd have to consider that, again, there is the Bloody Hunt. So there are a lot more things that they'd have to worry about, even up against the matchup of the Fredrin. It's a great ban, taking out the Arlott. So you won't see the Arlott-Fredrin combination from TNC. That's too much already if you still get...
I believe yesterday in the hands of Lord JM, when they almost were able to take down... I don't know, the day #1 of week 7. And they were almost able to take down Falcons. But again, I do agree with the Franco pick. We might even see some sort of a build style like what Edok has been doing in MPL ID, the Franco fleeting time right away, because they have a sustained jungler in the form of Fredrin.
Yeah, actually. So the soaking up the damage. You also have your XP laner who you can still consider to pick up later on, but for Aurora, now that they're looking for their mid laners and their junglers, will they want to go for an assassin jungler, even despite this kind of lineup? Or
I'd be laughing if it's something along the lines of like a Barrett's jungle again. We're just like throwing it back to the Fredrin Barrett's jungle matchup. Yeah, especially because like you have the Matilda, or is it going to be an alpha? Maybe. Oh no, it's okay. The Hanzo comes out instead, and then you have a Farsa, which is usually paired too. Back when we saw Matilda picked up so often, a Farsa was there, and again, you have to think the amount of mobility that this lineup alone has in favor of Aurora. That is going to be the difficult thing. So if you really think about it, you're going fishing here if you're the Franco. You're trying to catch whatever you can. And who are you going to catch? Maybe the Kalea, which happens to be I guess the fish, right? Like that's who you're going for.
Going for the fish man now.
I mean, it looked okay earlier when Aurora still didn't have their backline access, but now they were able to get in the range and the backline access to the Hanzo and the Farsa. So 3 Martizi, he's only looking for his XP laner here. Is he gonna go for the Hilda or... Okay, there's the Hilda, so he does go for it. There at least has some sort of answer to the Farsa now, but it doesn't change the fact that Aurora seems to have really found the right answers for TNC Pro Team's lineup. But I'm still gonna probably believe that there is a chance there are a lot of surprise hooks or flicker bloody hunts coming in from Yaoi.
I mean, even at the draft, I was already surprised that no one even thought about Harith.
I'm glad. I'm not going to complain. No Harith, that's fine. You know, bring some other things to the gold lane, and that's what we're going to see here too. And they're just going full flickers for Aurora. They already have enough utility and mobility. They're like, all right, we'll just be pure athletes and go with a flicker.
Okay, it's the athletic flicker.
It is. It's the athletic flickers.
Game 1 is underway, and as we enter the land of dawn, the stakes are high for the Northern Lights. A chance at securing or
Welcome
their
to
chances
Mobile
of securing
Legends.
An upper bracket slot against a familiar face in Yaoi squad, the Phoenix Army. And so far, guys, what are your thoughts heading in with this draft?
I'm still going to go with Aurora. I think that this amount of utility that's provided with a Matilda alone and a Kalea is just too much to deal with. So TNC is going to have to be able to pull it off with the hooks for Yaoi. I think a lot of the responsibility is on Yaoi's shoulders in this early portion of the game.
Yeah, because it's not necessarily a setup type of XP laner that they're going with for this lineup. So it really is supposed to be those all-out team fights, which would ideally start with the perfect hook and pickoff coming in from Yaoi in order to set things up for Aurora. But at least they also have a decent amount of poke and zoning, since 3 Martz in this early stage of the game could really prove to be quite a problem for Aurora at least.
Now we can see a very aggressive start coming in from TNC. 3 Martz making sure that he doesn't give enough space specifically for that Hanzo, for Demon Kite to be able to snowball early on. They know that they have a small window before that Hanzo will be activated, so they're trying to make the most out of it. And looking at the emblems, Yaoi also has the PYTC. We can expect a lot of flicker plays coming in from Yaoi, and also there's no Purify for the side of Aurora, so the hooks this time needs to connect. Yaoi needs to be the hook man and take a page out of the book of Renegade, but now they're trying to go for 3mar. Oh.
3mar's just gonna walk away.
Yeah,
And not get threatened at all. Demon Kite won't be using his ultimate either. There is an upcoming objective that they really have to consider. But Yaoi, he's positioned himself really well. Will he get to land the hook? Will not land on Renegade. Okay.
Renegade so far providing enough vision. TNC is looking like they're blitzing it, but still!
Demon Kite still gets to secure the turtle, even though it was started by TNC, and now 3 Martz might just not make it out alive. FOD connects, but will Demon Kite go in? He decides not to and will play it safe.
Okay, so they get the objective. Aurora knows it. That could have gone way worse, that team fight, especially with... If Domenkite decided to join the fight, it's good that he got the call not to, because they could have just disengaged. But yeah, that's one of the tough things about playing against the Hanzo. You know, Hanzo can just show up, kind of swoop on in literally, and retribution the objective away. And when you're a Fredrin, like as Coil just has to post up and hope that he gets it. Yeah. So unfortunately for them, neither team really was able to capitalize a kill, but objective for Aurora gives them a little bit of a minor advantage for now, but you're going to start to see Aurora play around that and see if they can get pickoffs around the side of the map.
Yeah, and what makes it more interesting is that Coil had the opportunity for an Appraiser's Wrath Retribution combination, but still was out-retried by the Hanzo of Demon Kite, and now they're putting enough bodies for the side of Demon Kite to be able to give him a lot more space and not get outplayed by Benikute, who also has a Purify here, and now TNC back in controlling at the center of the map. And looking at the community prediction, 60% actually believes that the Northern Lights will shine brighter.
Yeah, I mean, even just looking at their lineup though, hold on, there's an bloody hunt, which lands onto Renegade, but still Demon Kite decides to go in. Lancy won't be taken down though, so they won't be able to find a trade.
That's one of those moments where, you know, you just kind of check the bush and you're like, yep, I'm dead. Because they had like 3-4 members in there, and there was really nothing that Renegade could have done about that. So the first blood, at least going to the hands of TNC, goes over to them, and they'll go ahead and play around that. And that's something they can always do. Like that play we'll probably see happen more than a few times leading into the next big objective here. You can see some of the items already locking into. Corrosive Scythe now for a Demon Kite. You went that Hunter Strike Rush over here for TNC. Hold on, Benikute.
3 Martz, will he make it out alive here? He's buying time. He's buying time for TNC, and they get to secure the turtle for themselves in exchange of his life. So that was one of their ways to at least just kind of get something out of Aurora, because they're always consistently getting to contest these objectives, which they work so hard for. But I really agree with what Naisu said earlier with regards to... wait, what were you saying earlier? No, I really had something in mind. I swear I had something in mind. I was supposed to say something.
But anyway.
I believe in you. You're talking about how they can just go ahead and utilizing the Franco to gank these.
Oh yeah, especially when Renegade doesn't have the Purify.
That was literally an Ingan moment.
She just had an Ingan moment.
No, because like if you don't have the Purify, right, then that's most likely to be the case. It would have been great if he had it though, so he could actually get to use the Guiding Winds every now and then, especially when someone else gets caught. But this is a full flicker lineup from Aurora, so this is something they really have to take into consideration.
The Sky Piercer pickup here from side of Benikute. They already casted 2 ultimates. Coil entered in with the Energy Eruption. It's not going to connect, and I do agree. If for TNC, they have to instantaneously burst any single member that Yaoi is able to hook and eventually cast the Bloody Hunt, because that's how you take on a sustained kind of lineup with the likes of the Matilda and of course, Edward's hero, the Kalea. So far, TNC, they have a huge window here to extend their lead and dominate the laning stages, but now they set their eyes on 3 Martisi. 3 goes in.
Oh, that was a flicker committed by Edward. They are going to fully take down and commit onto 3 Martisi in exchange of the turret down bottom, but it doesn't stop there. They also get to secure this turret up top.
Yep, that's going to be an objective for them, a kill. And it looks like there isn't going to be an answer for TNC just yet. The turtle is coming up, though, so they have that positioning. But good usage, though. Demon Kite goes, gives the call. Edward burns the flicker to get the Tsunami Slam off and results them into getting not only a kill, but also the turret down. So that might just be a trade. I'm not sure if they're going to get here in time to actually contest this. Roy does go up front, Renegade and Edward.
Oh, that's a bloody hunt immediately committed onto Edward, but Demon Kite once again finds his way to secure the objective. Dominic Kite by himself, together with Demon Kite, trying to zone out the members of TNC, and now it's only Coil left in the front lines, but still is able to sustain everything from Aurora.
Deja vu for Demon Kite. Another retribution steal for their jungler. And to top things off, they looked for the Edward trade. Unfortunately, Coil's Appraiser's Wrath was a bit short, literally 1 pixels before being able to take down Edward and look for the trade. And now even Dominkite, despite 3 Martisi and the threat of a Yaoi hook there, he's not afraid to go for that tower push.
Yeah, you know that you just have a lot of support here if you're Dominkite.
Oh, once again, now they have their eyes set on Coil, who won't be able to make it out of this. Demon Kite is already in there, and now they also get to take down Yaoi. 3 Martisi is another member to fall. Just 3 members in a snap falling because of that engage.
And that's what I was saying, you know, when you're Dominkite and you're just Rora in general, you know that you have so much utility on your side. And that was a Flask of the Oasis that was picked up before that fight even broke out. So you're covered. The bases are covered for you, and you can just take these fights time and time again. Yes, Coil can tank up a lot of damage as a Fredrin, but you know what more once he's picked off from the team, and then your team's got really no more of a front line. You know, Yaoi's just going to go down too. He's going to get blasted, and that's exactly what happened there.
And speaking of front line, Aurora even has a 3rd front liner in the form of Demon Kite, because as you just saw, Edward was hooked by Yaoi, but Demon Kite decided to go in and tank it, making sure that Edward wasn't going to be taken down by the members of TNC. That's why they have a 4K gold lead right now. And looking at the items, Benecutie already has a Hunter Strike and a Sky Piercer, but unfortunately cannot get enough kills. But for Moskov, already close to having that Trinity build.
Yeah, and there's the Winter Crown pickup by Yaoi, which you previously mentioned there. So there's the Rapid Boots and the Winter Crown, but then again, he lacks a little bit more of tankiness. Demon Kite, once again, he's gonna go for it. No! Lancey is the one to secure this Lord Snow Snatch used on to Yaoi, but there's the Winter Crown who will save him for just a little bit more time, but not for long. And there's the Tsunami Slam once again, used onto Coil, but he will be able to dash out, and that is the only trade Aurora gets out of this Lord secured by TNC.
A still good trade for the Phoenix Army. They had the major objective, but Demon Kite wants to change it.
They're still going for it. Soul Snatch used once again. They're under the turret, and Demon Kite won't be able to sustain anymore. Dominic Kite, however, just simply focusing on taking down the turrets. My, oh my, look at this.
Okay, TNC, they stay in this game based off getting that Lord. It was great that Lancey was able to grab that because, you know, surely with Aurora's lead that they have, the itemization advantage they have, they would have been able to play into that Lord and possibly go into the base of TNC, but they bought themselves some time, and TNC needs that time because of, again, the fact that you have the Sicilian here. As you guys mentioned too, Yaoi doesn't have, oh, hold on.
Oh,
Coil?
Coil will be able to somehow buy some time again. That's a bloody hunt committed onto Demon Kite. So that's a major resource down for the Phoenix Army, but Aurora, they aren't going to commit.
Yeah. They are already activated, and for TNC, they still need to stack up for Benecutie and for Lancey. But so far, Yaoi's hooks are connecting. It's just that they have to connect onto the proper target. They might go for Demon Kite.
And what better target if not Demon Kite? He just gets bursted down like that, but look at the 2-man knockups coming in from Edward, followed up by the fettered airstrike from Yue, and now they're able to take down 3 more and Coil. Dominic Kite going in and bursting everyone down as well. It's a triple for Yue, and there's no one left from the Phoenix Army.
In the words of Redmar, TNC in 5, but in this case, TNC gets wiped down. Now they're going for the push. TNC, they still have their holy shield. They have 1 minion cart left. Is this gonna be enough though? They're trying to kite and juggle the damage of the turrets, but right on time. 3 Martisi respawns.
And that fight, I don't know if we're gonna get a replay. Okay, we are gonna get a replay out of that. Dude, Demon Kite gets grabbed, picked off, but then the boys just showed up for him after he went down. Again, Edward has been on point with the initiations with the Tsunami Slams.
Yeah.
And they just allow Domenkite to fire off from the back end, and he just uses that Spear Destruction so well to reposition himself. So even if a Demon Kite goes down, it doesn't really matter, just because, again, Rora has so much ability and utility to give them the favor of the fight.
Yep.
Again, a lot of TNC's options are just to go ahead and try to utilize the hooks, try to utilize the fact that maybe even Lancey to an extent, the claws, right? But essentially, you have to always watch every angle if you're TNC, because Aurora has so many options to go ahead and out-angle them.
Yeah.
Now this Lord is up. Demon Kite's back from this. Domenkite will start that up. And they got to remember, they have almost a 7,000 gold lead here. The itemization is quite different. Oh, there's a hook.
Oh, there's the Sanguine Claws together with the Iron Hook.
Oh, Edward.
But Yowie, he gets attacked so much damage. And look at the Tsunami Slam.
Whoa.
Landing on the 3 Martisi. Two members down for the Phoenix Army.
A 2K swing for Aurora as they take down the Lord. Now TNC. It was started off by Yowie with an amazing hook paired up with the Sanguine Claws of Lancey. But Edward and Renegade were 3 steps ahead. The Guiding Wind plus the Tsunami Slam was more than enough to take control once again of the lead. And now
HP is forced to retreat, but they are going to wait for the Lord. But even before that, they get the inhibitor turret.
Yeah, they get the 2 turrets down. This could be a final game push too. 10,000 gold at this point for Aurora. I cannot believe, again, that Edward actually managed to survive that.
Yeah.
He only had, I think it was Athena Shields and Anti-Cuirass. Doesn't have a 3rd defensive item just yet, so now they get prepped and ready to march in with this Lord here into the base.
Okay, there's the Fettered Airstrike. Oh, look at the damage coming in for multiple members of TNC Pro Team. That's a flicker coming in from Edward once again to get Coil. And now they take down 1 crucial member. Demon Kite just goes in, and Demon Kite has his eyes set on the base, securing game number 1 for the Auroras.
the Northern Lights once again outshines the fire of the Phoenix Army in an exciting fashion. And as you can see, the crowd is going wild. What an amazing game from the most consistent team so far this season.
Yep, and again, I don't know who's going to get MVP here, but Edward had a hell of a game. Mr. Consistent himself, just massive on the Kalea. And when it was brought up in the first portion of the draft, that first pick, again, you can play around the flexibility of that hero. And they did this so well. Again, utilizing how much utility this lineup brings them, the amount of burst damage that also comes with a Farsa early on, and then even to an extent of the Hanzo, right? Hanzo allowed Demon Kite to even just go ahead and start up some of these fights and get things going, and then, you know, if he has to go back, he does. He also got quite a few retribution takes under the noses of TNC, and really you also have to just chalk it up as Demon Kite didn't have to worry about too much, you know? Like, he was able to just go ahead and have that gold lane experience, farm up in the back. This is where Demon Kite gets caught, but the boys show up. Look at this. Everybody is there, and they just go and force the counter fight against TNC here.
Yeah, because of his kite bro, Demon Kite. He's literally, he wasn't Demon Kite for that game. He was a decoy kite. Literally becoming the sacrificial lamb of Aurora.
Wow.
That's why his kite bro, the next standard, Demon Kite, will take home the MVP.
Honestly, this guy, as Naisu mentioned, literally had nothing else to worry about. Where I'd say it was the complete opposite for TNC, because it has been a recurring topic for the majority of the game that whoever they decide to land the Iron Hook on doesn't necessarily guarantee a kill. They were still waiting for their timings. And even then, it posed a bigger threat when, despite getting a pickoff onto any member of Aurora, specifically at that one moment, which was Demon Kite, it still wasn't enough for them to win the team fights, to win the trades, because they have to use so much resources when in fact Aurora they'd be really okay with even just 4 of them fighting up against the 5 members of TNC, so long as one of those major resources are already down.
And what I loved about this too is just the amount of kill participation that Dominkite had. It was 94%. He was there for literally everything that he needed to be. You know, some Mozcovs, they just stay on the other side of the map and they'll just go ahead and push the lane. But he was here all the time because his damage profile was very important in a lot of these fights because, yeah, Demonkite might be able to go in as a Hanzo, get the Soul Sever off or the Soul Snatch off and everything else, but it has to be Dominkite to follow through after Yue bursts everyone down. Yue was the top of the damage meters for the majority of the game, if not the whole game, and that's what you picked the Pharsa up for. Again, this is where Edward survives. It's insane. A sliver of health, but it was Edward all day, man. Like, he was just go ahead, let me go grab someone and slam them into the ground, and you guys can go ahead and take them from there. And so this lineup, that's why I was saying it when we were in the draft. I was like, this is such a good lineup. There's so much utility. There's so much damage, magic, and physical that it was going to be really difficult for TNC to play against, because even if you take out the Pharsa, for example, you still have quite a bit of physical damage that is a nuisance to deal with, especially if you're a Sicilian and you're kind of, you know, more susceptible to get burst down. And that's why they had the Purify. But even when you saw them have the Purifies, there's just way too much crowd control here, man. Like, that's what happened with Aurora's lineup. They were able to overload all the options that TNC had here. So again, even with the way that they were trying to play around the Franco, who's now, you know, he's not 100% win rate anymore, unfortunately. It was only a couple times that he was picked up, but yeah, the Franco doesn't do it here for TNC in this game 1.
Yeah, and it also came to a point where in Edward, his Tsunami Slams weren't focused on Lancy and Ben Cutie, the Purify holders. Literally anyone. They can burst down. 3-Mar TZ.
Even 3-Mar, yeah.
Coil, even Yawi, especially since he opted to go for the Winter Crown first.
Yeah.
And it was total domination, and I do agree with Naisu and Bree. The lineup says it itself. You have to burst down all the targets you hook or Bloody Hunt immediately, because the counter and the because it enabled every single member of Aurora to do crazy things. And not to mention, I think Dominkite didn't even miss one Spear of Destruction this game.
And I think the only one was during the first few minutes.
No, he meant to
towards
do that.
the mid lane, or that was intentional maybe.
It was intentional.
The very few times we felt like TNC somehow had control of the map was when they were constantly able to hold the right mid bush. But if they weren't, and Aurora has an idea of where they all are, they aren't afraid to like engage and look for a fight. And that's the thing, because Aurora, with their lineup earlier, you'd expect that they'd have very minimal ways to check the brushes to get some information for wherever the Franco is gonna come from, wherever the Iron Hooks are gonna come from. But that didn't become a problem anymore because they were way ahead, and this was the BPI rich guy of that game.
Yep. So the BPI rich guy here, Dominkite, again. You know, 11,584 gold, total 863. He was just able to do everything he needed to. The other thing too, and what I liked the way that Dominkite plays the Mozcov, because he's one of the few players that does play it like this, is just the fact that he has so much good information and comms coming from the team that he knows when he should be joining or not, when he should be pushing. I mean, think about even back in the previous weeks when they've won games off the fact that Dominkite was playing the Mozcov, you know? So he is a menace on that hero and plays it very well, so that's something that maybe TNC might want to consider, or even other teams going into it, because that's the thing. Every time we talk about Aurora winning, it's like every single lane, every single player has their own like highlight moments. Like, you can think of what Dominkite did here as the MVP. You can think about what Edward did on the Kalea, which you don't often see Kalea's played to that, you know, to that level, to that extent. And even in the case, just all around, everybody really played the part. And I think too, the Pharsa was such a good pick again because of the Franco. Like I said in the draft, you want to play around the Franco. What does that mean? You're going to clump up around the Franco and hope that they get a hook. Now, if they get spotted out, all he has to do, all UA has to do is drop down Feathered Airstrike on like 3-4 people. So that's why his damage meter was so high too, just because of the fact that they were clumping up for UA anyway, you know? So it's like, how do you escape that amount of burst damage? So that's why I really loved the draft here from Aurora in game 1. I think it was very, you know, a genius draft to bring out.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, UA literally just had to stand up, and if ever Kite will go there for the chase and just literally finish off what US started. So now Aurora up 1-0, just like what happened during the first meeting in week number 3. Or was it TNC who won? I'm not quite sure and I have to double check. But the results were 2-1. Again, this is an amazing matchup with the stakes high for Aurora because it's for an upper bracket slot. But now I want to check how is Hans Galleria and Calusi doing in our MPL PH range. That's why let's throw it over to them.
Maraming salamat sa ating mga casters. I just wanna know